Hello, welcome to 21st Century Football, a podcast all about celebrating the best of the world's most beautiful game, but only if it happened in the 21st century. This series is all about championing the greatest football players of the last 20 years, and our regular panel of guests are going to be chatting about the players' careers, honours, and of course, incredible stats. Now, I'm Adam Brown, joined today by Mr. Will Brazier.
Good afternoon.
Are you good, mate?
Oh, you shouldn't timestamp anything, should you? But let's throw back the curtain. This is the afternoon, and I'm
There
ready
you
to go.
You're not afraid to break the rules.
No, it's actually the morning. Please stop lying to the listeners.
Shut your mouth.
Misleading people already. And Statman Dave. You good?
I am, yeah. I'm not going to mislead people like William is. Very much the morning.
There you go. At least we're all on the same page now, aren't we? And today we are focusing on a man who's undoubtedly one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, and that is Gianluigi Buffon.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first sort of bloke to make goalkeeping cool.
Do you know? Yeah. Do you know what I think? Yeah. Really?
Yeah, mate.
I was about to agree with you then, but I mean, what do you mean?
Just like I wanted to be a goalie when I was younger, and yeah, sure, Nigel Martin had a bit of influence
He's got
on
something
me.
about him, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it didn't have that sort of vavavoom.
Schmeichel maybe as well.
No, Schmeichel made it good, and but Buffon made it cool.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad you've made the distinction between the two. This episode, we're going to kick it off like we do with all our episodes, where basically it's essentially just having a little look at what is written about the person on Wikipedia. It's always a nice place for us to start. And this is what we've got for Buffon. Buffon was born on the 28th of January 1978. He's an Italian professional footballer who plays as a goalkeeper for Serie A club Juventus. He's widely regarded as one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, and by some as the greatest ever. Nothing about him being the coolest though, which is a bit strange, Will. He's one of the few recorded players to have made over 1,000 professional career appearances. Buffon holds the record for the longest streak without conceding a goal in Serie A history. He's achieved over 12 league matches. He's kept the opposition out for 974 consecutive minutes. He did that during the 2015-2016 season, achieving the most consecutive clean sheets, which was 10 during that run as well. He also holds the record for the most clean sheets and most appearances in both Serie A and with the Italian national team. He also holds the record for most appearances for Italy as captain, after he inherited the armband in 2010, and he was called up for a record 5 World Cup tournaments. He was there in 98, 2002, 2006, 2010, and of course 2014, and he's the only goalkeeper to win the UEFA Club Footballer of the Year award, which he achieved after reaching the 2003 UEFA Champions League final. Not only that, he's also won UEFA's award for best goalkeeper. He did that in the same year, and was additionally voted in the UEFA Team of the Year on 5 separate occasions, and he was the runner-up for the Ballon d'Or in 2006. That is an impressive list of achievements. But the question I want to start off with today is, boys, is he the greatest goalkeeper of all time? Dave, what do you reckon? I mean, look, judging by that, it's hard to argue, isn't it?
Is longevity? Yes. Revolutionising goalkeeping, should I say? Maybe
Here
not.
comes the red agenda, everyone.
But I think you've got to give him a lot of credit for how long he's sticked around for. That is definitely something. Playing for one of Italy's greatest ever clubs in Juventus, like you've got to give him a lot of credit for that as a footballer. But the greatest of all time, I'm not sure. Obviously, with modern keepers are more important in possession, and Gigi's obviously a quality footballer. But is he at the same level as some of the keepers that we're seeing nowadays? Maybe not. But in his era, very, very good. You know, he's his life. He's basically been from the Oliver Kahn, Peter Schmeichel, to like now with Manuel Neuer and Alisson, and still within the zone of being one of the best keepers in the league, with his peak probably coming in between that. So you've got to say he's definitely up there as the greatest of all time.
I think it's sort of, Adam, you might appreciate this, it's sort of like a WWE storyline. So there's a wrestler called Kofi Kingston. He was in the company for 12, 15 years, never won a world title, but had the talent to win the world title. And I think that's what we've got with Gigi Buffon. He's only sticking around now because he's not won that Champions League medal.
Yeah.
And he's been tantalisingly close. I think it's 3 Champions League finals he's lost. But I just feel like that's all he's waiting around for now. Even if he was, just on the bench, I got my medal, now I'm retiring.
Do you know, I think it's interesting that what you said, Dave, there, that his career is kind of, it's seen a massive change in the role of the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that he went to the 98 World Cup and yet he's still playing now.
Yeah, well, you think that he kind of, at Parma, obviously starting there in Serie A, not talking about the 90s, but we're going to mention the 90s right now. That was a long, long time ago. And considering that Parma team was an excellent, excellent team, so many top players. But that was in 1995. We're now in 2021.
That's ridiculous.
It's a bit of time, that. That's a few Serie A seasons under his belt. And I think that longevity and it shows a good level of adaptation that he's still playing for a top side in Europe.
I mean, so, sometimes you get players that'll stay at clubs for years, or they'll keep going and not retire, and sometimes you get that they'll get picked on previous glory, or there's a nostalgia element, or someone's a club legend and they only get in the team because of that, but with him you could argue that, or obviously he's at his peak now, but he's still operating at a good level, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. It might not be Juve's number one anymore, but has been Juve's number one for a long time. You mentioned the 3 Champions League finals. That again is an accolade in itself. Over 1,000 games played in goal in his professional career. That is crazy. And I don't know if we'll ever see a keeper that's lasted so long as Gigi Buffon at the top level. I think that's where we'll look back after his career's finished and go, wow. The way that, he's probably one of the best shot-stopping keepers we've ever seen in terms of where the ball goes after the save's made. You don't class Buffon as a player that is going to spill a shot back into the face. It is more of, will go over the bar, is palming it out of danger. And I think that is a goalkeeping trait for having for such a long time. Strong hands, a top quality keeper.
I think one of the things you can, and I don't know if that's because of the lack of coverage of Serie A maybe over here, but you just don't associate him with the mistakes at all, do you? Like, I can't. There's not one that really springs to mind. Maybe later on in his career, like with the PSG stuff, but he's past 40. I think I'd be struggling if I was that age.
I mean, the thing is, it's hard because on this podcast we look at players that a lot of them have given us freakish numbers in terms of goals, assists. It's quite difficult to kind of, other than clean sheets as something which you can, a quantifiable kind of number of something you can rate someone on. What else do you think that he has brought to teams that he's been in? Do you think it's more than just his clean sheets? Is there a mentality there? Do you think he's a player that has really kind of helped the teams around him? Do you think the great defences are aided by him? Have they become great defences because they're playing in front of him?
I think it's a bit of both as well, but I think the one of the biggest things that goes for him is getting in the top 3 for the Ballon d'Or. As a keeper, we had the highlight video on. Once you've seen 5 saves, you've probably seen them all. But to get up in there with
just quantify goalkeeping as 5 different types of saves.
Come on, 5,
right and left hand, one over the bar, maybe a quick reflection, he's done it. But to get into that sort of voting and be with those players that he was in, I think he finished second, did he? I think that speaks high volumes.
I mean, in terms of his peak, Dave, let's look at some of those, the games that he's been involved in. What do you see as a stereotypical kind of great Buffon performance? Is there anything that you would say that he has got over other goalkeepers, which he does better than anyone, or he did do better than anyone?
I think the big thing with goalkeeping is consistency.
Yeah,
and that's what he's shown throughout his entire career. The difference between an average keeper and a great keeper is consistency and concentration. Especially with a team like Juve that dominate the ball in Serie A, you have to be ready for those moments. A lot of goalkeepers are good when there's a high volume of saves at them. It makes them look good. It makes them look like a good keeper. But it's about having the concentration for 90 minutes when you've not touched the ball for, let's say, 89 minutes, but you've made one absolutely fantastic save. That really, for me, sums out a great goalkeeper. Like a Edwin van der Sar at Manchester United, concentration was great. Like a Peter Schmeichel, like a Oliver Kahn, like a Manuel Neuer. Manuel Neuer, in a way, obviously changed goalkeeping in terms of his style, but Buffon kind of adapted in that level. Buffon's never the goalkeeper that's a crazy keeper that's going to fly off his line and make himself big and make those big 1v1 saves. He can still do it, but it is more about reactions, agility with Buffon. He's like a classic goalkeeper, could describe him as. And I think when you look at big performances, obviously his form in 2003-04 when they played AC Milan in the Champions League final, some big saves on the run to that. But I think the big one obviously is the World Cup in 2006. Number 2 in the Ballon d'Or behind Cannavaro. Like, that was a hell of a good defensive Italian team. I think the thing with Juve is you don't stick around if you're a bad player, but you also don't stick around if you're not a character.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing there with Chiellini, with Bonucci, with Barzagli, that BBC in front of him. Very, very important to that trio. One of the best defences in the league or the Champions League for 5-10 years.
But even for Cannavaro to win the Ballon d'Or, that's got to come from having confidence in what's behind you as well. So knowing that you've got Buffon, who can, like you said, Dave, at a moment's notice, pull out a world-class save, that just breeds confidence for the whole team. And as it got further and further, that Italian team wasn't the most iconic. But as Adair gets his 5th mention in this series, you don't have to be to win a Euros.
I mean, the thing is about when you've got goalkeepers, and like you said, Dave, the key to success is usually consistency. And for any great team that ends up winning titles, leagues, European trophies, you need to have a great goalkeeper that you can build it on. But you see teams, you've seen it time and time again, where a keeper will get to a certain age, where I know goalkeepers can traditionally go on for a bit longer than outfield players, but managers have made tough decisions before where they've gone, even if the number one keeper and they've got rid of him, if they've got someone new coming in. We've seen it up at Chelsea before when Peter Cech.
Do you guys remember Dida?
Yeah.
Dida's one of those examples where he was so good for about 18 months. Unbelievable for 18 months, and they just fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're sort of saying here, that it is the concentration, the consistency, that ability to perform, but as well not get spoke about.
Yeah.
Like, never did we... Well, there probably was questions about Buffon's career at Juventus, but it's not like a big one. There's not like a big change in the media perception about him. And I think him going on the radar, it's arguably what you want. You don't want your goalkeeper to be the main attention for the media. Either you're not defending right, or he's made a mistake.
Yeah.
So I think that's another big thing that we've got to sort of talk about Buffon, is that he doesn't get mentioned as form or dips.
Yeah.
It's just been there.
Yeah.
But even that, I don't know if I'm being harsh, but maybe that longevity comes from that fire and that passion to get that Champions League medal. Just because he's been so close. Like, he saved 3 penalties in that 2003 Champions League final, and he still didn't win a Champions League medal. So that just must have got him by the balls and said...
Well, I think he's one of the greatest players that's not won the Champions League with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It's got to be those two as definitely leading the way for their impact. But as well, the longevity and the interesting side, obviously, they played together at Juventus in around, 2005, 2006? And it's that level of... they're still here.
Do you know, and on that, do you know what's mad? He was on PES 6 and he's on FIFA 21.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mad.
I mean, the thing is as well is that when we've discussed, different players from the 21st century of football, you'll often get players that need the right manager, need the right system, need the right team. I mean, he's been through so many different managerial changes. He's probably seen the building and then, sort of the ending of so many different systems and teams and players coming and going.
Stadium.
But he's been the mainstay the whole time, which has got to speak more about his character as well, surely, because you don't really know much. I don't know much about him you don't see much about him as a person, do you? Other than that, he's clearly got a great mentality.
Yeah.
He's clearly, an influential player, but he must be someone who managers can trust, and there's no sort of, drama with him, as it were.
I think the biggest sort of highlight of that is when they got relegated down to Serie B. And this is like a guy that finished second in the Ballon d'Or, got to a World Cup final, and he's playing in the Championship effectively.
I mean, I wonder how that must have... I mean, he clearly, at that point, he must have had so many different...
Yeah, it must have. You might have a lot of feeling about it. That scandal in Serie A was massive.
But the affection that he must have had for the club at that time, and then the affection that the fans must give. But like, if that happened if we still had... Just trying to think of one good Birmingham City player from the Premier League.
There isn't.
If we still had Nikola Zigic,
Sorry, wow.
You had Nikola Zigic in the Championship, and he was horrendous.
Let's do no. He scored 4 at Leeds, Ellen Road. Great, get the DVD. If we still had Ben Foster, which which being about goalkeepers, and he stayed with us and we got promoted again. Just think of like the connection that you'd have with him. It's such like. It's very rare you see that in the modern game, because obviously people go chasing. And to be fair, Juventus.
So what are you saying that Ben Foster is not loyal?
No, I'm not at all. But Dave, your beef with Ben Foster is your beef with Ben Foster.
I don't have any beef with Ben Foster. I'm just saying that you question his loyalty, and he should have gone to the Championship with Birmingham City and become an icon like Gigi Buffon.
No, I love Ben Foster, best YouTube channel in the game, fastest writing anyway. But the loyalty and the longevity and the affection that the fans must have for... He could probably do whatever in Turin now. He's a god there. Yeah. And I think that is because of that.
Dave, you've got a little stat for us, haven't you? Which, again, kind of just... will sort of reinforce the longevity of this guy.
Yeah, I think that there's an interesting point to make of it's just been around for so long. So this season in Serie A, 185 players have been registered to play. They were born after Buffon made his professional debut. Not only that, he's obviously the oldest player in the Italian top flight, and his professional career is older than nearly 200 players.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
I think that's highlighted most, because, you know, I judge a lot of football on World Cups. Do you know what I mean? And my first World Cup was 98, and he was at the last one. And that's mad.
Does it make you feel old, Will?
Yeah, well, the greys on the side and the back of my head, and now top, I'll let the viewers in, make me feel old. But yeah, that makes me feel even older.
Whoa! Stop what you're doing there. If you want to listen to the full podcast, click the link in the description where you'll hear us all talking about what we really think of some of these 21st century footballers. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, drop a subscribe, and get in the comments down below. What would you rate this footballer out of 90? Would you take him for a pint?